let's get on to some of these main topics that I want to talk about. Everyone out there, Barbie. Let's talk about Barbie right away and the success that it's had, and Greta Gerwig just killing it, 100%. This film is. I don't know how you feel about it, but I love it. I think it's just a fun film. It surprised me. But let's dive on into why Greta Gerwig is great, because she has broken records. Everybody, coming from the Hollywood Reporter, Greta Gerwig is now the highest grossing female director of all time. Barbie keeps on climbing in the box office, cannot be stopped as a monster, breaking in $30 million or more, supposed to be on its fourth weekend. It's crazy. It's already crossed the $1 billion mark. It is right now at $1.1 billion, almost at 1.2. Now, this is the second highest film of the year. I think it will, and I think it's on track to beat the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out in April. And right now, that has, I think, $1.35 billion at the box office. I think Barbie is going to pass that, and I think it's going to do it pretty soon here, because, CJ, people are coming back to the movie theaters because of Barbie. This is a group enjoyment film. People are coming out of the woodworks from it. People who have not been coming to the movie theaters in years, even before COVID, they weren't coming back. Because now with COVID, people are used to movies being at home, but we're seeing this bring a lot of energy to the theaters, which extremely need it. So I want to ask you, what do you think about Greta Gerwig just having all of the success with now being the highest grossing female director of all time? That means so much for her future. Obviously, any door she wants is available to her. She can take anything she wants, because that will guarantee be at least a success. So what do you think about Barbie, how the legs it's doing, the repeat viewings that it's having, and what do you think that it means for Greta Gerwig?
Yeah, I think it is very interesting. I heard a few different theories on how Barbie would do after it came out. I saw it the weekend it came out. I felt kind of the same way as you. I thought it was a lot of fun. I disagreed with some of the messaging of the film. We can get into that if you want, but to answer your questions, I think that it's very fascinating to me how Greta Gerwig has just kind of jumped onto the scene, and all of a sudden I think she's going to become one of these mainstream directors that I think a lot of people know. And I remember hearing a lot of takes about what this film was going to do. I heard two different takes. Basically, either it's going to do gangbusters and take off, or people are going to see it and then they're going to hate it, and then it's going to fall off the wagon immediately, because it's not at all what people expected. People, I think, expected something kind of like the Lego movie, what I was talking about earlier. It's going to be a fun sort of riff on, kind of Barbie culture and Barbie lore. And instead, it wasn't that. It was actually, it was a movie that had a lot to say. And it was very unexpected. And so, but a lot of people still enjoyed it, and a lot of people enjoyed it because of that. And so it's been doing very well. And so I definitely agree. It'll be interesting to see what Greta Gerwig does next. I don't know if she's going to make some huge blockbuster thing. I don't know if she's going to make, continue making kind of smaller films or taking chances on films. This film was great. It was loaded with talent in terms of the cast and everything else. And so she got to work with some big time actors in this film. And so we'll see what she does next. Hopefully it'll be something very good. Yeah, we'll end up seeing what happens. I'm very interested to see what she's going to do next.
Right. She has all these doors open, but it has been announced that she has a deal with Netflix making Narnia movies. Which I found a little odd, because I don't know, but Narnia, it's been done 3 times, and I believe it was done by Disney. I just feel like she could tackle something maybe a little bit more. Not to say Narnia is not creative, but I feel like she's better suited for some other films that maybe aren't, Narnia. I just don't feel like that's big enough, honestly, for her to do. Yeah. And I feel like that's still going to lock her in a box, where she's great at bringing original content to the screen and coming up with the story from scratch. Her and Noah Baumbach wrote Barbie together. They're a great pair and a great duo. But I just think she has so many original ideas that I would like to see her keeping on that original track after Barbie. Because Barbie, is based on a toy, but it was an original story that she had to come up with along with Noah Baumbach. And to your point, the story was way deeper and way more emotional than I thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
Um, I know for like myself, like my wife absolutely loved the movie and the messaging in it. She, it overfilled her with emotion. She just absolutely loved what the film stands for. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people, not just women, but men too, are um, in a way seeing themselves on screen. And I think it's very powerful. Like I said, way more powerful than I think any of us really thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
Also, I don't know if you know this, Margot Robbie just recently came out, I believe from Variety, that she's going to get a little either at 50 million or a little bit below $50 million from the success of Barbie.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
but people are like, "Oh, she was just an actor." No, she was a producer on this. She's the one who brought Greta Gerwig on, and
Mhm.
she was the huge, engine that really kept this thing going. So I think both
Right.
her and Greta are a great team, and I would love to see them pair up in the future.
Yeah, I think, you're absolutely right. And to go back to the Narnia point, I'm glad you reminded me of that. I remember hearing about that as well.
Hmm.
I think that really upset me. I grew up on the Narnia books,
Yeah.
both listening to them, and also reading them. My sisters were reading them, and then when the movies came out, I was about 6 years old. I'd grown up with them when the first Disney Narnia movie came out. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. It was very true to the book, and it was just fantastic. And I think basically, I mean, the Narnia books was written by C.S. Lewis,
Yes.
who was one of the great Christian authors of the time. And Greta Gerwig is to my knowledge is not. I mean, she's not a great Christian author for sure. I'm not sure where she's at faith wise, but in terms of that whole film is basically just the gospel. Like Aslan is literally Jesus. He even says as much in at the end of the whole series. It kind of comes out, and the kids basically die. Spoiler alert: kids basically die and go to heaven, and
Wow.
it turns out that Aslan is just Jesus the whole time. Like that's what it is. So
Oh.
so from someone who doesn't have that particular worldview, in order to represent that series accurately, I feel like you probably have to bring someone in who also has that worldview and has the kind of love and care of that. So I would hate to see that major series kind of trodden on by people who don't know or understand the material or respect the material in that way. It's that's just kind of how I feel about it. I don't get the
Okay.
sense that Greta Gerwig is going to do that.
Hmm.
Maybe she'll surprise us. I'd like for her to surprise us.
Right.
But as she did with Barbie and kind of surprising us in that way. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. So I was pretty upset by that, but we'll see. I've been anticipating Netflix these Netflix Narnia projects.
Yeah.
I heard they kind of said, "Oh, we're going to sort of get on the Game of Thrones bandwagon with Narnia and do all this stuff," and I'm like, that's not really what Narnia is, right? I mean, Narnia is fantasy, I guess, in that way, but
Yes.
it's not like a game of like a gritty, political sort of medieval drama. It's
True.
it's fantasy, and it's kind of
Hmm.
it's very allegorical to the gospel.
Yeah.
So I think they should probably be just a little careful in handling that property. But again, we'll see.
We will see.
Mhm.
Good point. I did not know that's how Narnia ended. So, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to read the book, so it's okay. But like you, I did grow up on the movies, and I
Yeah.
really like the first two, Prince Caspian and Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe. So,
Yeah, those are great.
um,
And actually, that third film was produced, I believe, by Warner Brothers. So by the time they
oh,
got to
okay.
the third one, it was produced by somebody else. It was also a different director. Andrew Adams did not direct that third one. I think he's no longer really in Hollywood. He's directing theater, to my knowledge. I
Interesting.
could be wrong on that, but so he was a great kind of flash in the pan director as well. I kind of miss
Yeah,
him actually working in the field. But anyway, those movies are great. So if
they
anybody
are.
hasn't
They're
watched them, they
very
should go watch them.
yes, very underrated. Now,